Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood for YouTube. I'm back with another Dark Shadows video for you guys. And this one's a character retrospective one, Maggie Evans from the original series, the original Dark Shadows series, that is, played by actress Catherine Lee Scott. You know, when you watch any television series, I know something that I do is when I when you meet each character, you sort of wonder how different each character is going to be. So, for example, when you meet Victoria Winters, who's a female protagonist, you wonder, what the next female character is going to be like, right? Now, with Liz, I wasn't so sure, shades of gray. I don't consider Liz a heel, but I've always considered Liz at times in the beginning episode shades of gray. Now, with Maggie, here's this character who's just not a final girl in her own right. She is downright everything you would want in a final girl. She's sassy. She stands up for herself too, just like Vicky. Vicky stands up for her too, but Maggie doesn't in her own different way. She's very sassy. She's very straightforward. She doesn't pull her punches at all, and you're so very appreciative of that from this character. I mean, she flat out tells Victoria Winters, "Take one good look in that mirror, girl. That hair is going to be different colors. It's going to be white or gray." I forget exactly what she says, but she lays all the cards on the table and she has no problem doing it. You love her for it. Do I mind the wig? Here's what I'll say about that. I don't think that blonde wig hurts Catherine Lee Scott's performance in these beginning episodes. And really, once she ditches it, you just forget about it anyway. I mean, seriously, as soon as I see her with dark hair, I really, honestly, what wig? I'm sort of wondering if that's what the writers or producers just did. Let's just toss the wig because none of us, maybe even Catherine, I don't know. I'd love to ask her that. Whose idea was it to toss the wig? Because that was a good idea. I mean, because seriously, once you see her with this dark raven hair, it's like, okay, okay, like you're rolling with it. You really are. As a fan of DS, when you see her without the wig, it's like, yeah, yeah, okay, cool. That was my reaction when I first saw that. Like, oh, no, okay. Let me know you guys' reaction. I'm not done here, but there's so much to get to. Catherine Lee Scott's character is really interesting. Here's this woman. She works at a diner, restaurant, whatever you want to call it, that's inside a hotel, and she does cook. She does the mate. She works behind the counter as well. She also does bring people their food at times. Now, when she goes home, she comes home. It's to the Evans cottage, which belongs to her dad, and that's where she lived. It's where she grew up with her dad and her mom. And Maggie Evans is a local girl. She's a local Collinsport native. So is Sam Evans. Well, Sam Evans is a man. Sam Evans is her father, and Sam Evans is a painter, but he's also a heavy alcoholic. He drinks. And Maggie remembers a time when it wasn't that way. She remembers, hey, this my dad didn't always do this. Like, what gives? Why? And what really helps her memory out most of all is Burke Devlin's return. You know, she knows that Burke going to prison was about the time her dad really started picking up that bottle and laid into it. And I think Catherine Lee Scott, David Ford, they really deserve a lot of credit for their chemistry and really their selling of not just their own characters but off of each other. I mean, they just did a tremendous, tremendous job. Not enough gets said of they really felt like a daughter and a father. Um, not just the caring for each other, but the bellowing of each other, and you know, they would argue, they would, but they did care for each other. It wasn't like they were fighting with each other constantly. She just wanted to know what was bothering her dad, and you understand that right away. Excuse me. But I think one of my favorite things too is how trusted Mr. Catherine Lee Scott's Maggie Evans trust, Mr. Wells. Here's Mr. Wells. She gives him a letter. He put this in there, and well, Mr. Wells does as she asks, and no one can get that letter out but Maggie. And I love that. I think that's one of the. It's it's a really underrated scene in my view. I just love it because it lets you know that Maggie isn't somebody who distrusts everybody. She does trust somebody. Here's Mr. Wells. He does his job just like she does. He follows the rules like she does. Here you go. Here's this letter. Put it in there. You know the house rules, so she knows that nobody will get that letter but her. So I also love the fact that you have Catherine Lee Scott's character really, the fact that she goes up the column, when she goes up the column with the sort of, not just conf- not it's not just a simple confrontation. She wants to know the truth, like why, like what hold do you have over my dad here, especially Roger. It seems that she knows that it seems to involve Roger and Burke, and it's an amazing scene. Roger's not too happy that Catherine's character came up there, but what a scene. I really like the fact too that uh, most people might think that Kathleen Lee Scott's Maggie Evans was always with Joe Haskell. No, that's not always the case. Maggie Evans was actually for a great while single. She didn't have a boyfriend that we saw. She didn't have a love interest. And she sort of locks eyes with, she sort of sees, not locks eyes with Joe, but she sees Joe, and man, he's really good looking. He's handsome. She's never really noticed him this way before, but she's now seeing him in a different light. And you sort of get that she likes him. And then once he breaks it off, once him and Carolyn split, they do start dating. And what chemistry Joel Carruthers and Catherine Lee Scott had. I mean, they had great chemistry. You believed they were a couple, and it wasn't hard to believe. I love the fact that once the dinner scene, Maggie's vulnerability, the first time you really, to me, see it is at the dinner scene with her dad, Victoria, her, and then Burke barges in, and Sam Evans, runs away, and Burke sort of talks down to her in a way, and it's like you sort of see this finally you're sort of seeing this vulnerability. And I'm not saying she didn't show that before. There were vulnerable moments, but this really feels like one of those moments where the character's sort of been, like, I don't want to say gut punched, but it sort of feels that way, like, because she's not sassing back like she had been. This is not a character who's bellowing back. She sort of looks like she can't really defend why her dad left. She wants to. And you sort of, I think that's something Catherine doesn't get enough credit for is the look in her face. She wants to defend why her dad left, but she can't really. Like, she's not sure herself. Like, she's even been asking questions. What's going on? And it's just a great moment. Another one of my favorite moments from the beginning, really, too, is after after she dates, just starts dating Joe. You don't, you know, I sort of wish you would have got Maggie going up to Collinwood, and when Joe was asked to go pray for him, I wish you would have got that moment. There was a moment where, him and Catherine Lee Scott, I think, are talking, and I'm pretty sure that there's a moment where she knows he's going up there, and he's like, "Oh, Carolyn called," and she's like, and it's, I think he tells her it's from his son. God, oh, poor Joe. Here's a question. I don't think we ever see Joe's house, do we? We see a lot of other people's houses. Where exactly did Joe live in Collinsport? I mean, because he had to live somewhere close in town. I mean, he always walked to the cannery. He'd walk across to go to, the hotel dining room to get coffee and stuff. So, where exactly did he live in town? Here's something I forgot to do before I did this video. I was trying to look up if they had houseboats in the 60s. I don't think they did. I don't know. Because I could see him living in something like that. I don't think they did, though. I'm not sure. So if you guys know, let me know. I didn't look it up before I came on, and I meant to. But on with Maggie Evans. I really love how concerned Maggie is for her father during the Phoenix arc. I mean, you talk about golden performances. Everybody in the Phoenix arc just shines so bright, and it's not even funny. It just her the reaction, Catherine Lee Scott's reactions to, Maggie Evans's reactions to her father's hands being burnt. It's just an amazing, amazing thing. The one thing there's a lot of things I want to touch on here, and one of the things I want to touch on, and I'm going out of order here, was, some people, when Maggie gets put as the new governess in Collinwood, do I like it, or do I not like it? Well, here's how I feel about this, and I've always been honest with you guys, so I'm going to be honest with you. No, I don't like it. It doesn't fit the character to me. It never did. And here's what I mean by this. Here's a character who's never given one inkling to wanting to work up there. I mean, at all. She's never once given one inkling. In fact, when she goes up there to talk to, Roger or Liz about her dad, she doesn't really want to go up there. When she walks in there, she sort of feels like, man, she gives that feeling like, I don't really want to be in this place. So that's sort of my thing about it. How does I get, they kill off Sam Evans, they kill off her dad, which makes sense. But also, why put her in there? I get, there's no Victoria winners and they're not bringing her back to be the governess again. But I gotta believe there was something more for Kathleen Lee Scott to do than just. I just don't really feel that she belonged up there. There's a lot of things they could have did for that character, and I just wish they would have come up with something different. I'm not trying to Monday morning quarterback it. It's just how I feel about it. Again, once in there, I think she did a great job. It's not like she did a horrible job. No, I think Catherine Lee Scott sold her ass off. I think really too, a character she doesn't get enough credit for is Rachel. I believe Rachel Drummond is her name. In 1897, you might say, well, this is why they put her in there. I don't feel they needed to put her in the house to. If Let me say this, I'm not saying it was, but if their reasoning for putting her in that house was to prepare her for the role of 18. I don't feel they needed to. They did not need to prepare this well. This actress who could sell her ass off for the character of Rachel Drummond. I mean, because Catherine Lee Scott does an amazing job. I, I like the character of Kitty. Obviously, you guys know what my favorite character of hers is going to be. Other than Maggie Evans, it is Josette Dupre Collins. I mean, my God, Catherine Lee Scott, how she looked stunning in Josette's dress. She was absolutely stunning. But keep in mind. Now I know I jumped over that, so I'll jump back. Here's this woman, Maggie Evans. I've talked about she's working in this diner. Barnabas comes in. This is her first time meeting him. Soon after, Barnabas asked to have his portrait painted by Maggie's dad and Sam Evans. And here, it's just a ploy. It's just one, yeah, he gets his portrait painted by, I'm sure, but to me, this is just one big ploy to, he doesn't say, but it's like, dude, I'm gonna kidnap your daughter, and he does kidnap, he does kidnap her, um, and tries to make her Josette. I mean, he does everything, but I love Catherine Lee Scott's performance here as Maggie Evans, sitting in her room, having Josette's music box. I'm Maggie Evans, and she slams the lid shut, and Barnabas is standing right there when she does it. It's a hell of a scene. Um, Again, Catherine Lee Scott just doesn't get enough credit for being a final girl of Dark Shadows. This is what a final girl is to me. Um, Again, I love this character. The Leviathan episodes, and well, I'll say this: I've talked about. I didn't love the fact that they put her in Collinwood. I don't feel that really helped her character. I mean, ultimately, what do they do? They put her in Wincliffe. At the Kathleen Lee Scott is obviously leaving the show. That I understand. So they put her character in Wincliffe. Okay. I just think there's something else this character could have did other than be the governess to David and Amy. I'm not saying it was a horrible decision. I just feel they could have did something else. The character of Maggie Evans. Now you might say, again, she was getting tortured by Roxanne Drew and stuff. So her mental capacity, the character Maggie Evans gets put in one cliff, and well, Roxanne Drew, all that. They put her in one cliff. This is your reward for working at this house. You get put in a mental institution. The fact that they have Sebastian Shaw put her in a mental institution. Number one, Sebastian Shaw doesn't even really. He's not. He's not related to her. What's he gonna? Oh, hey, Doctor Hoff. That's probably what he said. Hey, Doctor Hoffman suggested this girl needs committed. They just probably did it too. Oh, it's Doctor Hoffman. She's good for it. It's probably what that was too. Oh my god, craziness. What's my favorite scene of Catherine Lee Scott's? Oh god, there's a lot. There is a lot. Um, I think my favorite scene of Catherine's from Dark Shadows of Mine is, and I want to know you guys as well. What's you guys' favorite scene of what character and what favorite scene? My favorite, I'll give my favorite scene of Maggie is when she does go up to Colin, because we've always thought the character as very very bold, but Maggie Evans always seemed to outshine her boldness. And I'll give another one. I've talked about my other favorite. I talked about this just here a moment ago. Her slamming the music box. This woman knows she could die, and she's not just gonna get, she'd rather die Maggie Evans than be Josette Collins, and that tells you a hell of a whole lot about this character's will and the way Catherine Lee Scott portrayed her, and it's an amazing, amazing job that she does not get enough credit for. What an actress! I mean, what her performance in House of Dark Shadows too is something to behold. I know they're sort of taking, a lot of the plot points from the original, but it's still a performance worth watching in that movie. So go check it out for sure. Again, in the Leviathan angle, she's really getting tortured too by the Leviathan breathing. I feel too that's where they're, Maggie, again, there's moments where Maggie's made vulnerable, and that's another one of those moments. Because as she's going through these corridors and stuff, you know, you hear that breathing. And I've always said the Leviathan breathing was one of my favorite, is my favorite effect because it's so damn creepy. I mean, really, this is where they win you over with it too, is when Maggie's down there and she's like looking for David, and it's just like you hear that breathing. It's think about this. This is like 11 years, I think, prior to Michael Myers, and you hear this type of breathing, and it's just creepy as hell. And again, they just make you feel real sorry for her. I mean, really sorry for. Obviously, you felt sorry for Victoria Winters for taking the job, right? For putting up with what she put up with. You definitely do feel sorry for Maggie for taking this job. Like, just go, girl. Just go. Just split town now. These kids, they get possessed. They'll be possessed tomorrow. Something will be haunting them for sure. Just go. Oh god. But again, what a performance. I mean, you know, you could say, well, it's not that hard to act scared. I would disagree. Selling. I've talked about was talking about this with Christine Pierce and Cara Tilly. Shout out to those ladies from Between the Shadows, a Dark Shadows podcast. Link will be in the description box for sure. They we were talking about, the actors and actresses really not just practice their craft. They honed their craft here. They showed you their range and their craft on display in this series. And no more true than with Kathleen Lee Scott. I'm talking what range she had and what a performance, and she showed it, and so did all the other actors and actresses. I'm not taking anything away from them, but I mean, what more is there to say with this character, with the range she showed? All these actors and actresses really honed their craft and really showed it on screen, and I love them for it. And I can't say enough good things about this series. I really can't. Guys, gals, ghouls, goblins, and then everybody in between. Patofe worshippers, Diablo worshippers, whoever you consider your god. Oh my goodness. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. I hope you guys have a great night, and I'll see you down the road.